Chapter 4. The Role of Power in Corruption. Power is a central force in both the creation and perpetuation of corruption. When power is unchecked and lacks accountability, it creates an environment where corrupt practices can thrive. The imbalance between power and accountability, the misuse of political power, and the roles played by leaders and institutions all contribute to the corruption that affects public life. This chapter delves into how power dynamics influence corruption in societies and governmental structures. Power and accountability imbalance. At the heart of corruption is the imbalance between power and accountability. When individuals or institutions hold significant power without proper oversight, they are more likely to abuse their authority. This lack of accountability allows public officials to act in their own self-interest, often at the expense of the public good. For example, when a government official holds power without any checks, they can make decisions that benefit themselves or their close associates, rather than working towards the collective benefit of society. This imbalance fosters an environment where corruption becomes institutionalized, as those in power are rarely held accountable for their actions, making corruption seem like an accepted part of governance. Misuse of political power. Political power is one of the most potent forms of authority in any society, and its misuse is a primary driver of corruption. Politicians, who are entrusted with the responsibility of making decisions in the best interest of the public, may exploit their position for personal gain. The temptation to use political power to further personal or party interests can lead to the manipulation of laws, policies, and public resources. For instance, political leaders may grant lucrative contracts to their allies, divert public funds for electoral campaigns, or manipulate the media to strengthen their hold on power. This misuse of political power undermines democratic processes, erodes public trust, and perpetuates inequality. The role of leaders and institutions. Leaders and institutions play a critical role in either curbing or facilitating corruption. The ethical conduct of leaders sets the tone for the behavior of the entire public sector. When leaders engage in corrupt practices or fail to enforce anti-corruption policies, it sends a message that corruption is acceptable. Conversely, leaders who champion transparency, fairness, and accountability can create a culture of integrity within institutions, reducing the opportunities for corruption to flourish. Institutions, such as the judiciary, law enforcement, and regulatory bodies, are vital in holding public officials accountable. However, when these institutions are weak, underfunded, or compromised by corruption, they cannot effectively combat the misuse of power. In such cases, institutions may become complicit in corruption, either by turning a blind eye or by actively participating in it. The lack of strong and independent institutions allows corruption to grow unchecked, creating a cycle of impunity. Conclusion. The relationship between power and corruption is undeniable. An imbalance of power, the misuse of political authority, and the failure of leaders and institutions to act with integrity all contribute to the persistence of corruption. Addressing this issue requires not only empowering institutions to hold public officials accountable but also fostering a culture of transparency and ethical leadership. Only when power is held accountable can corruption be effectively minimized and ultimately eradicated.
If you want a book written, any other topic, I can write it for you. You can comment without any hesitation.